person that we're going to give a chance to come back is Kwe. So we had stopped people from asking questions at that time, but now it's an opportunity for you to ask your questions again. So we only have time to ask just a few questions. So if we are restricted by time and you have a burning question and I cut you off, my apologies in advance. So Kwe, welcome back to the hot seat.
Because you say the racist people need to be helped. How can someone identify the racist people? Because there are some racist things happen in the darkness and you don't know who is that person is racist doing it. So I need you to clarify, how can we identify the racist people?
I don't think I'll be able to comprehensively. They're different things. Or there are different things that make us perceive other people as being racist. So there's also perception, there's also the reality. So I wouldn't say we have an exact way of identifying someone that this person is being racist, but this is what I would say. I mentioned it, and I think it was mentioned, I think Joseph also mentioned it. There's that element of not knowing you. So when someone doesn't know you, they assume some things about you, and it's honest on you for you to explain yourself to them. That's one way. So if someone doesn't know you and you see them treating you in a certain manner, so it's now on you to tell them, this is who I am. The person you think I am is not who I am. That's one way. There's some people who just hate you for the sake of hating you. They just don't like who you are. Those people, these are not people you can actually deal with in person, but some avenues you can follow to actually solve the problem. Why I say earlier that people who are racist actually need help is there's something that makes them feel that way. You see on TV. Now it's up to you. For example, I'm a young person, and sometimes people feel uneasy when I'm among them. So I know I don't have to hate them. What I have to do is to make sure that they understand, because if someone who looks like you, like me, does something bad, it's up to me now to change that perception. So we don't have an exact way of knowing, but we have differences in how people treat you, and we also have different ways in which we can solve them. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Thank you. All right.
So that is in the making. So when it comes to the issue of, I said earlier, you will not go out and say, I'm not a black person. You wouldn't say that. But what I was saying is, when you're described by a certain color, what you need to do about an identity that's been given to you is to sort of question it. Don't take it as given. As a professor said earlier, everything about the Africans has been actually falsified. It's what we read in books is actually false. So what we need to do is anything about us, we have to look at it critically and then analyze it. We can't just say we reject it. We have to reject it with reason. So if you reject something, you have to exactly explain why you reject it. And someone who talks to you will actually look at the reasons why you're rejecting it, so that you authenticate what you're saying. Okay? So my main idea is for us to actually question everything around us with good reasons. That's what I would say about Dane.
Thank you. The work that you are doing, glorified, and I said before that I read some of your stuff in some of the forum, especially putting them into that perspective, quiet poverty, make people think, and as I mentioned before, we always have to think critically and do some more research and reading so that we don't just sound intuitive when we go and talk to others. We should know who we are before we go out there rather than assuming. So my question still goes back, and most I've read, I can acknowledge that from Michael and Dr. Charles, the presentation that they gave was very impressive. And my question goes back to that title, the book title, which is Real Poverty is Black Beautiful. I'll make my question very short, not a very long question, rather but a comment. When you write your own reflection, which area of interest are you really concentrating a lot? Is it on the political side or the general society? Because we know that most of these are all connected, but sometimes it's about us connecting those dots to see how we can help the whole community. So, how are you, kind of area of interest that are you really working on, and are you working with others to connect those dots? Because I was really fascinated by what you mentioned before, because I worked with children before, in which child was, I mean, when I was working at a school, children used to ask me, how did you become black? And the teachers will be like, oh, don't say that. And because these are very innocent children, they don't know anything, they're not racist. But they really want to know. I will say, no, it's okay, it's a good question. Then I will tell them that I was born like this, you know, that there are different complexions around the world, and people are born like this. You can't change your color, you can't change to be black, you will remain the way you are. And this is becoming, you know, after that they become friends. It's all about education. So anyway, it's just like a comment and a question as well. Thank you.
Okay. The question, a little. I don't want to follow any tradition. So I'll just say like Steve Biko said, I write what I like. I don't want to be restricted by any tradition. So when I see something, I write it. And I write it in a way that gives you an impression I actually studied that. And that's what I do, and that's the answer. I don't want to be restricted. When I see something, I study it and give my own personal opinion. That is it. Yeah, I just wanted to mention something about when I say it's a provocative, it's really provocative. People say, a young lady on Facebook said, if she wore a t-shirt in, say, in Los Angeles, in Campton, with the statement, "Is black really beautiful," people would stone her. So it's provocative, but the thing is, it sort of differentiates who you are from your color. Your color is not who you are, it's a description that has been placed on you. So when people say, for example, you said, you cannot change your color, you cannot change yourself. The color is someone who says you look like that. So that's not who you are. The color is separate from you. You can say, I am beautiful, or I cannot change who I am. But the blackness is a description. It can change. Someone else can call you something else. So it's not who you are.
All right.
For example, if you're talking of races, as you're a writer, for instance, an African descendant went to the shop and saw like an item, and that item is actually you can afford to buy it, and the seller can say, no, that item is so expensive for you. How do you describe that offense? Is that racist? How is it that? And also the pride, like being a pride. Okay, I have the pride because I'm an African. I invented this. That's a big pride. You're a pride because of something that you have done. So it's racist as well. So as a writer, put them into a category. Which one is the minor one and which one is the mild offensive one? Second way, I'll be asking a question out of this topic. As you're a writer, you wrote about the book about South Sudan, and as you're a writer, maybe you'll be entire worldwide, you'll be writing some about worldwide. We have a meeting going on in Addis Ababa concerning ICC about Africans. They are saying that ICC is targeting Africans. Is that what is that kind of racist? Is it a racist? As you're a writer, how are you going to answer that?
The first thing I would say about because remember, I think a few months ago, Oprah, when she was in Zurich, she went into a store and she asked, this was a purse, I think about $40,000. And the lady said, it's expensive. And the Oprah said, just let me see, let me look at it. She said, no, it's too expensive for you. So Oprah didn't say anything, she left the store. Now, Oprah said that because she was asked if she ever faced racism. So now, when we look at that, and that you just actually mentioned something that this is how I look at it. Oprah is of racism. But let's assume the lady was African. Would she say that? If the lady was African, the lady who told Oprah, this is expensive, Oprah wouldn't say that. So she's saying the lady is racist because it's a function of her color. So if the lady was African, she wouldn't say that. If she was Chinese, she would say the same thing. So this is my question. Why would she say it's racism It could be maybe the lady things. Sometimes, so how we rationalize things and how they affect us, and then we give it a name. If that lady was African, she wouldn't say it's racism. So what you have to look at is, what are the motivations behind someone thinking that way? I know it's hard for you to know, but when something happens, the first thing that comes to mind should not be racism, it should be why that person is acting that way. So that's my answer in terms of if you go to the store. The second question, what was it about? I can't remember. Sorry? ICC, I don't think I can answer that. This is a political, and it depends on your political position, so I don't think I will be able to answer that.
The proud race. You talk about proud race.
Sorry?
The proud race.
Okay, in terms of pride, because I ask people, if I ask you, how do you call someone who is proud of his or her own race? You don't have a word, right? No, some people would say they're supremacists, but that's wrong. So we don't have, but the word has been actually demonized. So if you're proud of your own race, you're basically racist. That's the word. But we cannot use it because it's been completely destroyed. If you call yourself racist, you're a bad person. So who wants to associate with that? No one. But this is the thing, this is what I've done in the book. I differentiated between your pride and your race, which is, as I explained, healthy for you. To be proud of who you are is not the problem. As you said, we'll never have one people in the world. And actually in the book, I like what you said about Anglo-Saxon, where there's a pole that is Anglo-Saxon and people are all involving. I have a diagram where, there's a centralized beauty. So, and then other beauties just compare themselves to centralized one, which is the Eurocentric beauty, and that is wrong. And I like the idea. So when we look at these things, these are mostly subjective things, and we'll never have a single opinion. So what you have to do is, when you have opinion, you have to support it, and it has to respect the other people. That's what I would say.
All right, I'll give a chance to this other side. You had a chance before, so I'll give.
Real, I'm impressed for today. I think Trends of Idea is very important. I read actually half of the books and have not completed. And raised a couple of comments in my opinions, because race is quite hard to define. Then more we are discrimination is more easily defined. But what I like about your idea is that how you would define yourself in terms of thinking, because we have stereotyping, we have those, prejudice. It's not even, we said, the mainstream. Even we ourselves, we do have that. So my question is about the ideas for the nation building. And if, in our opinion, I think the most important thing is about how can we criticize and we have that respectable system that allow us to criticize and then our views are respected. My word is not only to you, to all of us, is that these criticisms are not well constructed and they are put in a negative way. In your books, like the one you show us and some of the articles that I've read, so what do you think of the nation buildings and the way forward, as you have said? Thank you.
I always say this vilification and this criticism. So to criticize is not bad, but to vilify is bad. So when you vilify, your motivation is just to demonize that person. But the problem, these are new things for us. SPLA and SPLM, they were the army. So the only person who told you what to do was your superior. That's the only person who told you what to do. So anyone else who told you something had to have a very good reason, and that has to be a commander. Now we are in a different environment. These are people who are getting used to things. So when we criticize them, they don't see that as criticism. We see them as vilification. We see them as these people are, they're just demonizing them. And what I suggest to people is when you criticize, suggest something. You can't just say, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad. Okay, what is the alternative? So if you criticize, that's not a problem. Even if it's negative, even if it's negative. But there's always a suggestion on how to change, then that's not bad. If it is all negative. I remember there's this American, I think he ran away from Juba because of the way he was writing articles. He was writing for one of the American newspapers, McLarty or something. His name was someone, Bosworth. So he was always writing negative articles. And I'm always writing negative articles. But I wrote to him and I said, I'm not in Juba, but he's always in Juba. And I wrote an article and said, don't you have a single positive event in Juba, a single one you can write about? So because everything he writes is negative. He goes to a negative event and then he reports it. But there's so many things happening, but he doesn't say that. So you're right, if it's all negative, then it's bad. But if it's negative, but there's always a suggestion on how to change, then there's no problem. So.
All right, I'll just, because as you heard before on, I think Wednesday the 16th, I think we will be somewhere else. So if you have any burning questions, you can find him there. So I'll give a chance for one more question. I'll give it to one of the ladies. I'll give it.
We are just to have you this evening. At least I have not read any of your book, but I have to digress and ask you, but is related to what you have done, because you have written 6 books and none of us have written one at all. So my question is, anyway, my question is a double-barrel question, and the first part goes, what difficulty have you encountered in your journey to authorship? Second, what advice can you give to young Africans who are aspiring to becoming future scholars? Thank you.
The difficulty is, as you know, this is a reality you have to deal with. The perception people have of you. And you live in a society where you are the underdog. So if you approach any institution, people don't know you. They don't have anyone who works in that institution who looks like you. If there's someone who works in that institution who looks like you, they can relate to you because they think this person knows something in this institution. So you must know this. That's a challenge you always have to deal with. So when I sent out manuscripts, sometimes it depends on who receives it. They look at some editors would like your story. They like the story, they don't care who you are. But some editors, when they like your story, they have to think about the market because it's commercialized. I remember there was a British writers who won a Booker Prize. But he had a hard time getting his book published. He's a Booker winner. Because the book, they assume the book will not sell. So that is a challenge I faced. I sent out manuscripts and I thought, oh, it's a nice story. It's a good thing to be told. But sorry, we cannot offer you any. So I realized I live in this channel where the hall is dark and I have to be directed in a certain channel. I say, okay, why? Why can't I do it myself? So I started to do everything myself. To write everything, to have editorial control over everything. And now I write ideas in the way I see them. Not some editors telling me, no, you change this because he wants me to change it so that it fits within the audience he wants to market to. That actually undermines my own thinking and destroys the original idea I have. So the first thing is, it's the same thing you face and you will face it every day. It's the same challenge. But you can't do anything, you have to keep on trying. Look at editors, look at agents to market your book. But what I would tell to people who want to write because you like it. And don't get approval from anyone. Write because you like to write. Because if you want to say, I want to be a bestseller, then you're in the wrong place. Just write because you love it. And people will love it. People will love it if you want to love it. So, but write because you love to write it. And that is a motivation because you will not be discouraged. You always do it because you love it. Rather than saying, I want so-and-so to approve my writing, then that's the wrong way to do things.